how has the pandemic impacted your teaching and your students' learning? What would be some key ways that your teaching and learning has changed?
Yeah, so certainly the pandemic has thrown so many challenges at us, and many things that have been completely out of our control. And I think the flip side of that is that I feel I've really been able to change and adapt quickly, and look at things from a new lens. So look at really things like, I feel like I'm better at identifying what is the most critical thing that my students need to be walking away from class with today. Feel like I'm better at putting equity at the forefront of what I do in terms of lesson design, assessments, creating labs that are equitable and accessible for all students. So those are a few things. I think one of the big things for the students is that I feel they've become more independent learners. And so I've been better at creating resources for them, videos, curating resources from lots of support from colleagues to then help facilitate their independent learning more easily.
Sounds like a good change. Yeah, Liz, go ahead.
Thanks, Ellie. I would add that, one thing that comes to the forefront is that I've done like less is more and really focused on meeting students with where they are and working on community and not ignoring that piece, because we all feel remote and isolated. So that's something that I'm really adding in, and I'm not feeling compelled to cover a certain amount of content. And like many other people, I did have to completely modify 2 classes. I had environmental science and wilderness studies, historically were immersive field experiences. So those courses had to be completely modified. And in that process, like many others, I found that forced creativity and really forced me to look at what are the outcomes and how can I design around the most important outcomes. So it's been a challenge, but I think that creativity and that forcing change, keeps you engaged.
Yeah, I've heard the pandemic described as a slingshot moment, just kind of pushing us out and forward into territory that we didn't even know that we could explore together. So thank you for that. And Liz, can you describe for us what is meant by hybrid high flex teaching? I've heard this term now quite often, and I'm just interested in how you define those terms or that combination of terms.
Yeah, I would define them separately. I would say hybrid learning integrates synchronous and online learning in the service of learning outcomes. So all students in a hybrid course are expected to follow the same combination of synchronous and asynchronous activities. And typically in a hybrid course, the teacher is making most of those choices about when synchronous activities occur and when asynchronous or online activities take place. Whereas in high flex courses, these high flex courses are delivered in person and online at the same time. So teachers will be instructing and delivering class simultaneously to students who are in their face-to-face classroom and students who are remote. And in the high flex model, teachers are not making all of their choices about where and how students take the course, because of any given day, a student may not be able to be on campus due to COVID or COVID-related exposures. So for schools that are returning to in-person instruction, they most likely are going to need to entertain this high flex model.